Because once the inventory stock points reduce, the distance between the stock point and the consumer will increase. So transportation will become more important. On top of that, you have perishability of food products. Food processing is becoming a large sector. So you will need cold chains more and more, and that is why we also invested in a cold chain. And the fourth sector is e-commerce, where now people are moving from next day deliveries to 1 hour delivery. I mean, e-commerce companies are almost promising the moon. If they could, they would promise delivery even before the order was placed. So e-commerce delivery is the next phase. So yes, there's phenomenal opportunity.
Thank you.
Can I just say here?
Yeah, sure.
What Anshuman has said? I think what is interesting for the Africa region, it is very similar to India in terms of various countries, probably what they have. And also India has gone through this whole chain of change in taxations, change in from godown to warehouse, IT systems and all. I think so if one is in Africa region has to study what the Indian companies like Future Supply or some others have done and replicate that model there on the other side. On a pure, which India has not done, is the not effective multimodalism. Now, today, Anshuman still will continue to move his product by road, right? But he would probably hesitate to move it by rail. I think in time ahead, if Africa can do ahead what India has done, there'll be a great opportunity for African friends.
Thank you, Tushar. So, friends, we'll keep the floor open. You could just stand up and address a question to any of the panelists, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer you. So the floor is open. Panelists, you all have been so good that you have really conveyed the message perfectly. Nobody has any questions. Everything has been self-explanatory.
Good afternoon. I have a question. This is Banu Bhalla, and I'm from Freight Systems. And this question is for Anshuman. So, Anshuman, you know, Future Supply Chain has done great things for the supply chain world in India. You've also made very bold decisions in high level of automation and investing a lot of money. But do you see customers sort of differentiating between, let's say, quality automated warehouses when they come to compare with some of the other warehouses? The question I'm saying is, are they still very price driven, or are they changing? And so what is your take on that?
To the question whether Indian companies are price driven, I think they're perhaps the most price driven in the world. Everything is about costs. They couldn't care about quality. However, now to the question whether customers can differentiate between good quality modern warehousing and transportation systems and the current or the past archaic primitive systems, I don't think they will need to differentiate because they will have no choice. Once GST comes in, number of stock points reduce, quality automated logistics systems will be required to meet the higher throughputs required from each stock location. Better transportation systems through time-definite technology tracking will be required to meet customer replenishments. Better cold chains to save the perishability of the food products will be required, and an integrated supply chain through high-quality warehousing, high-quality transportation, and technology tracking for e-commerce will be required. So they will not need to differentiate. They will have to go for it. Even when they go for high-quality automated systems, they'll still ask for price. Now, I'll share an interesting example with you. For example, for a Future Group, for the largest retail hypermarket chain that we had, when we kept on investing heavily into these large warehouses and the automation, everybody expected the costs to go up. I'll just share an example. The cost of certain categories was 14% of sales. Supply chain cost was 14% 5 years ago. After investing heavily in transportation systems, technology, warehouses, large quality automation, 14% has become 5%. So large warehouses, large technology, large automation does not necessarily mean high prices, because large infrastructure leads to high throughputs, the costs get divided by higher throughputs, and finally the costs come down. In apparels, we had 6% of sales as supply chain costs. It has come down to 2%. In fact, this year it has ended at 1.7%, matches perhaps Walmart's supply chain costs in India. So it's not this or that, it's actually both. Higher automation, lower costs will have to go hand in hand. Higher automation can never mean higher costs, and the customers will never pay higher costs. So whoever cracks this equation, and this is a debate which has been always going on, people always say, will customers pay higher? No, they won't. They will still want higher automation, lower cost, which is possible through higher throughputs from same space. Thank you.
Thank you.
On a lighter note, I'll just share an advertisement which was there on our TV. And it showed a couple is going to buy a very beautiful 200-feet yacht. And they asked the seller, how much does she give? And by that, what I mean is, what is the fuel efficiency of this big yacht? So that's how the mindset is. You're buying probably a $50 million yacht, but you're still asking what is the fuel efficiency of this yacht. That's the mindset of the Indians. So I see somebody else raising a hand. Yes, Samir, please.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Samir Shah from Ahmedabad. My question is for Mr. Babar. At the outset, I'd like to compliment you on showcasing Pakistan in such a fine manner. I think we're a large group from India, and all of us sat up to look at it. Thank you so much. I was very much interested in the Western China Karachi corridor that you talked about. When we talk about China, we talk large numbers. We don't talk small numbers. But is Pakistan or is the Karachi port and the road network really ready to take the type of volumes that China is going to talk about? And if yes, what is the timeline that you see for the Western China Karachi corridor to open up?
Yes, there is a question which is part of the whole project which they are addressing. We've got two ports in Karachi, the Karachi port and Port Qasim. They have the capacity to take in more, but there is a third port which is being developed, and that is being developed with the Chinese participation, which is Gwadar, which is close to the Iranian border. That will be exclusively developed to tune in for this increased traffic. At the same time, Karachi and Port Qasim will also provide services for this cargo. You know, when they're coming in for infrastructure investment, obviously they're taking care of all these things. This is part of the program to develop the whole infrastructure in such a way that the volumes can be tackled accordingly. In fact, at one point I'd even suggested that if trade between India and Pakistan were to improve, you could probably find our ports more feasible in terms of distance to use them also. So, you know, as economies develop and as economic considerations overtake political considerations, then these things automatically come in. So I'm taking one step ahead of your question on China. And I'm saying, yes, of course, we can do all this. Does that answer your... yeah?
I don't see anybody else, so I'll hand this over to Mr. Elisar, and he has some very important announcements to make. David, we'll need you also for the announcements for the signing ceremony which you are proposing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to thank FIATA President, David, RAME Chairman, for giving us all this opportunity from India to come and participate in the RAME meeting. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Mr. Salesh. Thank you, our esteemed panels. At this moment, I'd like to invite Mr. David up on stage to present our panel and our moderator with a small token of appreciation for being here today. Mr. David?
Well, actually, that's going to be done by the moderator. I'm here for a different reason after we do that, so